Good morning, everybody. It's Monday. It's April 3rd, and it's 2023. And I'm Dave Rolfe, and this is the Smart Networker. Just prior to starting the recording, I was asked a question to cover the idea of compliance, what to say, what not to say, and that kind of stuff. And the fact that in the back office we have a lot of new videos that have been recorded to help in that direction. And so this is a favorite topic of mine because what I realized in the past since 2015 really was that there was a tremendous lack of understanding of what to do, how to think, how to plan, how to strategize. And that came about by some direction that the company had put out, or a particular person in the company who's no longer there put out to create a situation that was going on. Now, if we look at things in the sense of what's going on, we have the ideal, and the ideal would be the most optimum situation that you could have. Then we have the existing. So you have the ideal up top, you have you are right now, and in between there you have, what's missing. So you have a situation going on. So if it's not ideal, that means that something needs to be added to make it more ideal to what you got. Now, what I realized people were struggling with was the fact of not having a real good handle on what to say. Now, this is a funny thing, because if we look at communication, that's all we do. We don't do anything strange or unusual, or all we do is we communicate with other people. What do we communicate becomes the issue. How do we communicate becomes an issue. When do we communicate becomes the issue. And so from those particular areas, there was never any education to teach you how to communicate. Now, people could talk, yap, 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 yap. They could talk all day long, yap, 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 yap. They had a hard time listening. And what I came to understand was, number one, you can't sell what we have. Wow. You cannot sell what we have. Well, what's selling? Well, that's trying to convince somebody to buy your product. It doesn't work that way. The way it works is when you communicate with somebody else and find out what's important to them, what do they need, what do they want, based on who you are and what you represent. Now, this is a fascinating subject because this is going to be the key to your success moving forward. So now, I see through all the chats. I mean, it's just constant. What do you do for this problem? What do you do for this problem? What product works best over here? How do you fix your lumbosis? How do you fix your, whatever it is that you got? Seems to be the order of the day. Why? Because you're looking for a way to convince they talk. If you're not a medical professional, you can't say certain things. Wonderful effects. They create results. So somebody that drinks the water is going to have a positive effect. Somebody that sleeps on the sleep system is going to have a positive effect. But here's the challenge. We can't relate it to any kind of medical situation. Well, back in the day, and I'm going to go back because it's still relative to today, what I learned was that if I communicated to the right person about the right topic, there were no questions. Now, this is really funny, but this is really the way it goes. So I was in a pickle in myself. I lost everything because of the company I was associated with went broke. I couldn't perform, so I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. You know my story. Guy comes along and says, there's this new Japanese company in town, you should get involved. And I said, yeah, right. They're selling magnets, big deal. Refrigerator magnets we don't need. That was the concept, because there was no other source of information to go Google search and find out what's the deal about this company. I was the only, the person I talked to was the source. So if I talked to somebody else, I was the source, and so on and so forth. Now, because it was a brand new product, that became a challenge to explain how it worked and the benefits that you got. So the only way we knew how to do it was try it. That was it. Try it. I tried it. I love it. You try it. You love it. That's how the business worked. Now, the next very interesting step was, okay, I'm in a pickle. I need to make my budget. What that time was $8,000 a month. So that's what I needed to earn. So I looked at it from the standpoint of, well, how do I do that? Now, I've been in business, I've had companies, I've had employees, I had all kinds of understanding about business and working for people and et cetera, et cetera. So I was able to look at the information and then think about how to make it work. Now, you do that in your household all the time. You do it with cooking every day. You go open the refrigerator. What's in the refrigerator? What ingredients do I have? What do I make? So same thing with the business. I said, okay, here's this company that has these things, and we only had 7 products. And they've got this interesting opportunity. And if I help them, and at that time, we really only focused on distributors. If I help them set up distributors, then this is how this deal works. Now, don't forget my original story back in 1975. Hey, Dave, how would you like to own a Coca-Cola machine on every corner of every street? And every time somebody bought a Coke, you made a nickel. That's what showed up in 1990. And I said, ooh, interesting. Now, at the same time, there happened to be an article in Life magazine. And the article in Life magazine said 50% of the population is having a hard time sleeping. Aha! Sleep. Everybody sleeps. Great story. Great opener. And so that became the tagline of how to talk about the product was, well, this is what this company does. This is their main product. It's a sleep system. The media says 50% of the, listen to what I said. The media says that 50% of the population can't sleep. So the second guy I signed up was my buddy Howard. And I said, Howard, I think I found the goose that laid the golden egg. And he said, whoa, what do you got? And because I knew he wanted to make money. We'll get into that momentarily. But that's what I just saw this article. I just ran into this company. Boom, boom. Just like that. Now, here's what I realized. And this is what's critical to moving forward with this concept. If you talk to somebody that has a problem, an issue, a challenge in life that they're unable to handle by themselves right now, and they haven't been able to handle it for a while, and you come up with a potential solution, guess what? Guess what? They're going to engage in a conversation to find out what you got. It's just automatic. That's how it works. So I needed to make my budget. So I thought to myself, well, am I the only person in this boat that needs to make $8,000? No. Am I the only person that wants freedom and good life and all that sort of stuff? Hell no. So therefore, that's who I need to talk to, are people like that want that. Now, this is where we kind of reverse engineer that law that you keep talking about that really doesn't exist, but the mechanics of it work. In other words, when you talk to somebody that likes the same thing as you, then you have a mutual like and it works. If you talk to somebody that doesn't like what you do, it doesn't work. There's our political system. You have opposites on either side. So they don't get together very often. So what I quickly understood was that, well, heck, if I go talk to people that want the same thing that I do, it's easy, piece of cake. But if I'm talking to people that don't want what I do, don't understand what I've got, can't think about it, can't use it, don't have the problem or issue, then that's a hard task to follow. So now I'm going to answer your question, Lorraine, because I had to set the stage for this. All of a sudden, I saw people that were hungry to make a living, a good one, saw an opportunity, and I want to tell you that they got the best product results you ever heard of. They had the best stories you could possibly imagine. Interesting. Now, it never came up in the conversation about how the product works because the company had a track record since 1975 and had done billions of dollars worth of business. So what was fascinating was, well, depending on what you do creates the problem. So if you talk about product and efficacy, guess what's going to come up all the time? Does it work? How does it work? What kind of results can I get? If you talk about the business, and what's going to come up? Well, how do you make the money? What do you need to do? Because that's the important issue. And what happens there in the transition is you don't get all those questions about having to know exactly how the product works. You just have to know that it works. So now let's move it forward to 2023. What I realized was that people had a hard time telling somebody else what this was because they didn't have the language. They didn't know how to communicate. They didn't have the right pitch. They didn't have the right story. They didn't have the right information. They kept trying to sell them the product. So therefore, in order to sell the product, you need to have results. Now, here's where it finally got to. What it finally got to was Meakin's been doing business since 1975. In my time, I'll just give you an example. In my time, my organization has done almost $1 billion worth of sales. $1 billion in just my group. So that's a lot of business. Now, when I talk to other people that don't know what I do, and I say that, they're like, wow, that's incredible. And then they get curious. Now, if I talk to somebody that wants to make money, they don't have to ask me how much money I make. All I had to do was point to the fact that my organization created $1 billion. So right there it was done. Now, what they were interested in is, what do I have to do? And that became the issue. It was the do. What do I have to say? How does this thing work? So then I started to uncover over a period of 5 years, all right, we are no different than any other business in the world. We're no different than any other person in the world. And we're all doing the same thing. We're all trading our time for money. Each and every one of us is doing that. Well, Dave, how can you say that? Well, okay. I've been involved with this business for a number of years. When I was doing it for the first 10, man, I was away from my home 3 weeks of the month. Every month for years, building this business. Now, that was my choice. So was I trading my time to do this work to get a benefit? Absolutely. So what happens is in the communication, if we get the wrong information to start, we tell a story that's not really true. And then when the person starts to see what they're doing, realizes, well, that's not what they said. So there must be something wrong here. So when you think about this, it's how and what you communicate that registers with what you're doing. So when I get somebody that's going to start up, I'm going to tell them, you're going to work your butt off for a good year if you want to make this work. This isn't you sit back and namby-pamby it. No way. And again, you're going to find other people that are in the same boat that you are in based on what you communicate. So again, here's the first step. First step is you've got to find people to talk to, and lots of them. Number two, you've got to make yourself known. Who are you and what do you do? Then you are then going to find out what do they need and want based on who you are and what you do. That's the trick. Find out what's needed based on who you are and what you do. So, well, I right now, my description of what I do is I'm in the distribution business. And I carry a line or deal with a line of lifestyle products that everybody uses on a daily basis. Water, air, nutrition, things like that. And I'm developing a distribution network in the areas that we do business in North America and South America. And my main focus is I'm looking for people that also want to set up a distribution business and make some serious dough. Now, the question then is, who am I talking to? Now, if I'm talking to a person that needs what I want, guess what I'm going to get? I'm going to get, well, yeah, this sounds interesting. Tell me more. Now, the whole object of the exercise is to get into a decent conversation so you can discuss things. Now, let's use another example of life and living. July 4th is coming up. In Canada, it's July 1st, but that Independence Day concept. So we're all on one team, and our job is we want to have a July 4th celebration. And okay, so let's discuss what we want to do. And so let's play the game for a moment that you're interested in. We all live, like, say, on the same block in the same city, and we want to have this party. And we all agree that we want to have this party. Are we going to be talking about it, planning about it, strategizing about it, thinking about it, coming up with ideas, different venues, different ways, different projects, different things that we could do to make it fun? Raise your hand if that's what we would be doing. Okay, so now you're engaged with somebody new and you're talking about this business. Now, first off, you're looking for somebody that wants to take this on. So that's critical. You're looking for somebody that wants to take this on because there's only two ways this works. One, when somebody buys a product. When somebody buys a product, you make a commission. That's one way. The second way is when you recruit a distributor or sign up a distributor, however you want to term that, and they decide to do the business and create volume, then you earn another way, that way. Those are the only two ways. So from the standpoint, if you're talking to somebody, who are you talking to becomes really important. Now, more background information. So what I saw with an individual that bought the product, usually the product was bought for a specific situation. And retail customers are finicky. And in today's market, they are so finicky, it's unbelievable. Because here's why. They can go Google search and get the quickest, fastest results, best product, best price, all of those kind of features. But what they can't Google search for is a business opportunity like what we have. That needs explanation. That needs understanding. That needs a little bit more information. And they can't buy a distributorship, well, although some did, but you get what I'm saying here. So here you are. What do you want? You want somebody that's going to help you accomplish what you want. Now, I've watched this for 5 years, and there's a couple of people that have figured out the retail business, and they're doing a fairly decent job at it. They've won a couple of trips and all that sort of stuff, but it's a new business every month for the most part. So whatever filters they've got, whatever funnels they've created, whatever ways they've got to attract attention, there's only so many places on a web page that, on when you do a Google search, you're either the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, whatever, and then after page one, forget it, your history. So there's that route. And some people have mastered that. But from the standpoint of the other side of the coin, there's the distribution side. And this is where I focused and where I suggest you focus and where I'm thinking it's the best way to go, because the distributor does activities on a more aggressive basis than a customer. Now, customers very rarely refer other customers, but they do. And some are greater than others, but across the board, there isn't that big of an impact, whereas distributors are doing two things. They're looking for customers and they're looking for other distributors. And if the person that you're talking to has a need and they understand what to do, then all of a sudden the dynamic of this changes immensely. And then the next aspect of how this works takes in effect. And that was the term vested interest that came from the first book I did in 1990 or 1999 and 2000, was if you have a job and you work for somebody, there's a hook. And that hook is you have to work for a couple of weeks first, and then you get paid. Now, if you're a business owner, there's a hook. You have to have a product that sells, and you've got to cover your expenses, and hopefully you sell more product than it costs you. And that's the hook that you've got to make your money. And in our business, we have a hook. And the hook that we have is this thing called you need to qualify to get your check. You need to qualify to get your check. This is so important. I mean, this is probably the make break point of this business for most people. So the way the company has set up their plan, first step is if you want to get any check for any activity, you got to do $100. Now that's the need to qualify. So you need to either sell $100 worth of product or you need to purchase $100 worth of product. So that's step number one. Now, once you start to develop, and if you understand the compensation plan, you can see really quickly, or you should be able to, that you need a fairly large group to make a decent amount of income. Now, it's not unusual. It's not out of this world. It's not huge numbers that you can't deal with, but you need more than just yourself. Now, if you have a combination of retail, wholesale, and also building a team, then those things work out. But the structure is if you have somebody underneath you that starts to produce and creates volume, then guess what you need to do? You need to qualify to get paid on that. Now, here's where this happened. It was in probably 1994. And I left the business for 3 years because of some other reasons. But anyway, I came back and I had a person underneath me that had got to the diamond level. And when I came back, I was at the silver level. So here I am a silver and I got a diamond underneath me. So the first thing I knew was, wow, what do I need to do to qualify to get paid on the volume this guy's creating? And I pose that question to you here and just write down that you have a distributor underneath you that's doing 100,000 points every month. What are you going to do to qualify to get paid on that? See, if you understand that viewpoint, then you'll understand how this works. It's a really fascinating thing. Now, here's the other thing I'm going to say is what I also realized about we're the only ones that has this unique structure and compensation plan that nobody else has. Now, other network marketing companies have similar things, but in traditional business, from I've had my own businesses, I've done public companies, I've done private companies, I've worked for people, I've been in the insurance industry, the investment industry, I've covered a lot of ground to see what other people did. And I was a very curious guy. So I was always looking at it and saying, I worked at a car dealership called Dave Buck Ford in Vancouver, Canada. And I worked at a time that just come out of the car boom. And I watched these guys sitting in the management and ownership office having an absolute riot, and all the salesmen working their tails off. Now get that picture. Here's management, ownership, driving the nice cars, wearing the nice suits, having the good fun, and all the salesmen are running around like chickens with their head cut off trying to sell cars. So what those guys figured out how to do was to get other people to do the work. How would you like to own a Coca-Cola machine on every corner of every street? Every time somebody bought a Coke, you made a nickel. That idea kicked in there too. So then I looked at the investment arena. I got involved in investments and I saw, oh my goodness, if I take my money and put it in the right product, boy, you could do well. How about if you bought Apple stock when it first came out? Where do you think you'd be today? You'd be retired on some beach in some island somewhere having the time of your life because you'd have gazillions of dollars. Same concept, right? So that's what I kept looking at was, how does it work? How does it work? How does it work? What do you have to do? What do you have to do? How does it work? What do you have to do? How does it work? What do you have to do? So in where we are today, what I saw with our structure was, okay, this was Dr. Roger and Judy Boger, and he was a diamond, and he was down. He used to be on my 25th level. He rolled up to my 2nd level. I'm out of the business. I come back in. I try to meet him. He doesn't want to talk to me because I'm just some lowlife. Blunt description of how I felt trying to talk to that man at first. We ended up becoming great friends and went to Royal Diamond each together. But the interesting fact was his production was my motivation. So interesting. How does the business work? Well, the business works when you have production underneath you. If you don't have production underneath you, forget it. Forget it. Doesn't work. Now, you can go out and beat your head against the wall and keep bringing in customers, and that's fine. And there are many. I had a distributor that went to Diamond because, and she loved the product. She just loved the product, loved the results, loved what it did for people. And for the first 8 months of her career, every check she got, she stuck in the drawer. They didn't need the money. She wasn't doing it for the money. She was doing it for something else. It was what was important to her then, and she was operating on that basis. Over time, she got into the game of wanting to be at the top. So what's really important about this message is the person that you're talking to. So if you find out what that person needs and wants, then guess what your job is? Well, I'll give you the answer. It's to help them get what they want. That's it. There's the secret. There is no secret. But anyway, that's it. So how does this business work when you help people get what they want? So what makes the most sense to you if you want to make this work for you? Is then talk to the right people. And why am I telling you this? Because it's so important for you to understand that the key to our business is developing distributors. That's the key. Because the distributor does two things. They find customers and other distributors. What do those other distributors do? They find customers and other distributors. What do those other distributors do? They find customers and other distributors. If you look at your own capability, and when I say your own capability, after a while, you run out of your warm market, you run out of people, so you've got to do what everybody else does to find customers. So the competition is fierce. So, but again, everybody, and here's the other statistic that's really important. 97% of the people that come in through a warm market. So by observation, what I saw was that new people grew real quickly. Older people didn't grow. That's interesting. So what's the ideal scene? Well, the ideal scene would be growing. What was happening, what was existing, nothing's happening. So where's the departure there? Where are we missing something? What are we not doing? And that opened up that door, where we're not talking to the right people. If we talk to the right people, it works just like bingo. So again, in January, we came out with Michael and I and Dennis Williams approached the company and say, we need a better front end. And I went there, the others were on Zoom. We had all the powers that be. And we came up and the company came up with Powerhouse. Now, the sole purpose of the Powerhouse is the ability to communicate and get somebody interested. So if you think about this for a moment. So what we looked at was if you did a powerhouse, or if you did 3 powerhouses, you could go silver. Or was it, 3? Yeah, each powerhouse that you did was worth about 2,000 points. So 3 of those would give you 6,000 points, so a little and change. And you could make yourself a little over $2,000. Well, that was a far cry from making a couple of hundred the other way. So it became a story. So the story was, okay, let's go back to what I said before. If you're talking to the right person that has the need and the interest to begin with, then your story fits in perfectly. So if here you are, what do you do, Dave? Well, I'm in the lifestyle business and I distribute product and I'm looking to expand my business. By the way, would you be interested in making an extra couple of grand a month? Yeah, love to. Well, great. Let me show you how. Conversation begins. Now I have an opportunity to sit down with that person and educate them on what we have. Now I'm going to tell you what happened. So I said, well, I'm going to be one of the first people to do a powerhouse. I didn't get there. Somebody else did. But I decided, okay, after I said that, I said, oh my God, people are going to hold me to this one. I better go to work. So I threw an ad in an area that I had contacts with. I had 20 responses and I found somebody that wanted to play. Brand new person. They'd had some networking experience that was not favorable, similar to me. So we had a connection. But here was the thing. They were dissatisfied with what they were doing and they needed to change and they wanted something better. Bingo. Bingo. I want to say it again. Bingo. Bingo, bingo, bingo. Identification, the same thing. Okay, beautiful. So one of the things I realized also was that, you got to have desire. You have need. You have to want something. Go listen to Les Brown. I mean, that guy, you got to be hungry to make this work. Because, anyway, so she says yes. So we start out and she goes executive her first month and she signs up 6 distributors. So I said, I'm not going to go for my powerhouse. You're my focus right now, plus all the other people I'm mentoring. You're my focus. I'm going to help you build, and away we go. So next month, March, we're going silver. Well, then I'm developing the Smart Networker program, and I thought, well, this might be a better opportunity So I said to them, how about you be my guinea pigs and I train you and your sister, because that's her front line, on the whole program. So by the end of the program, you're going to know everything that you need to know to build this business. What do you say? Yes. Well, I want to tell you that so, so in March, they didn't go silver, but they more than doubled her organization of distributors. So she went from 6 to now almost 15 distributors. Now, here's what's really important. The distributor, and these are not distributors just to buy the product, these are distributors that want to build the business because they want to make money, is going to go out there, and now you got 15 different people who have 15 warm markets, and each one of those warm markets has 200 to 300 people in it. We have an army to go talk to. They've already had meetings in their house with the company representative, with demonstrations. They're in Costa Rica, so it's a LATAM marketplace. And they've got 2 more meetings set up, and they're sponsoring people every day, and it's starting to grow. And so this month is the target month to go silver. But both of them, Frontline and the person I sponsored and their Frontline, know exactly what to do here. They're educated. Now, when I cognited on this one became a crucial step in building this business. Was every place that I ever got hired or worked with sent me to training first. Everyone. Not one said, go to work and then we'll train you. Some of them sent me away for 2 to 3 weeks and doing a program 7 days a week, all day long, to get educated on how to do the business. So that was the other realization, that network marketing is a strange industry. It's the only industry that says, come on and go do the business without training you on what to say or how to do it. And no wonder people have a hard time here. Because this is the simplest business in the world. Because all we do is talk to people. And what we have are products that actually create an emotional response. They work. And when things work, then people usually stick with them. Now, I told you this before. I have a customer that's been on auto ship since 1990. Why? Because the product worked. He loves it. Now, I do a little thing in my book about the fact that, well, that customer was worth $18,000 to me in 32 years. But I had some distributors that were worth several millions to me. Interesting difference. Thousands, millions. Real interesting difference. Thousands, millions. So it didn't take long to say, wow. You know, I think the best way to go here is to find other people that want to do what I want to do. That seems to be the best way. Now, in our industry, there's 61 million globally that do direct sales. 61 million people. So there's a lot of agreement of this style of business. And there's a lot of people that don't like working for other people. And there's a lot of other people that know how to communicate. Here's what I don't know. Where are they? What rock are they hiding behind? What bush are they in? And it's the joke, you know, why does the elephant paint its toenails red? So it can hide in cherry trees. See, you just never know where somebody is. You never know. So the main focus of a distributor's activity is to talk to everybody. See, here's how the business works. Now, you're going to have no need to get the book, but anyway, here's how the business works. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Now, you go to go to a museum, just for the fun of it. Just go to any museum and just, instead of looking at the art, watch the people and listen to what they say. Wow, isn't that an interesting piece of art? You know, it's kind of like, he seems to be an impressionist. I think his work's abstract. I mean, sorry. You know what I mean? It's like everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a viewpoint. Everybody looks at things the way they look at things. The way they look at things is based on their experience, their past, their situation, what happened to them. So again, your job is to create interest and curiosity. It's not to convince people. You can't. Because if you look at how the business works, people have to spend money to buy the product. They have to consume that product. They have to like that product. They have to get a benefit for the product, and they have to have a need for that product. And here's what I found out. If people don't have a need for the product, they don't buy it. So if you find people that have a need, then there you go. But again, then there's the separation. Here's what we have that nobody else has, and that's the structure. It's our structure. So it's you, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, level 6, get a piece of paper and draw that out and look at the potential numbers that you can have in your business. And you all can have those numbers. There's so many people, it's hard. And again, people change. I mean, I've already had distributors die, many of them in my business, come and gone, passed on to their next generation. Next generation doesn't want to do it. They're doing something else, whatever the case may be. So this is the Cinderella story. If the shoe fits, wear it. Your job is to find the person that fits the shoe. And it's based on what you say, the information that you provide, but it's really not as much as it's based on them and their situation and what's going on with them. And if you don't find out what's going on with them, and if you don't know what's going on in their life, and you don't know what they need, or you don't know what they want, then you're guessing. You're guessing. It's just such a waste of time. This business is really simple. Number 1, find somebody to talk to. And lots of them. And they're everywhere. There is no shortage of people. And again, here's the thing that I know today. 94% of the working population is working. When I started the business, 94% of the working population was working. What's changed? Absolutely nothing. So most people don't understand what we've got. Now, if you add on to that you don't understand, then that makes it awfully difficult to communicate, doesn't it? So if you understand what's going on, then you can find out what their situation is, and then you can give them a reasonable solution based on what you know. And again, we're no different than anybody else. We have to do something to create a result. It's an activity that creates a result. We have to put in our time to get paid. We have to invest our money, which we got from doing work. So it's all the same. It's just how you look at it, how you define it, and how you move forward. Anyway, a lot of tangents there, but I hope that answered your question